Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Amazi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Brothers, anyone can talk the talk, but not everyone can walk the walk. And that's why here at Porn Reboot, where we do walk the walk, I'll be sharing every few episodes some snippets of success stories and testimonials from brothers who are in our implementation intensive and in our free groups. And they're going to be sharing some of the results they've been getting so that this can further inspire you to take action on all the different tips and techniques that you learn while listening to the Porn Reboot podcast. Enjoy.
All right, what's going on, Reboot team? Chris here with yet another testimonial from somebody coming to us from our exclusive Reboot implementation program. I'm here with a really good dude, man. I've seen this guy from the beginning of his journey to where he's at now, and we're going to get to know him a little bit, and mostly his experience through the program and through his own rebooting process up until this point. I'm really excited to chat with him today. I am here with Spencer. How you doing today, sir?
Doing good, brother. Happy to be here.
Yeah, man. Good to have you. Really, before we dive into any nitty gritty and any true specifics, I kind of want to know, how did you first discover the program to begin with?
So I think it's a common theme with a lot of guys. You kind of dabble, you see videos on YouTube. If you watch those, you get in communication with someone from Elevated Recovery. And over the course of the past couple of years, finally just decided to join the program.
What was the moment where you were sort of just like, you know what? Enough is enough. Like you see, like, was it a YouTube video? Do you remember back? Was that the thing that?
Just when I turned 30, and I've done other programs before. I've had good strides. A number of years ago, I was part of this different program where I had some success with that, and just kind of stopped the self-development with this particular problem. And hitting 30 was kind of like, you know what? Like, it's time to dial in, and might as well. There's guys doing it, and you hear about people from this program in specific of getting the results they want. And I'm just like, let's do it. Like, why not see what it's all about? And let's just try it out.
I can relate to that. There's something about 30, because I was I was maybe like 28, 29, like just before I turned 30. But it's something around that age where it's just like, man, like I am not as young as I used to be. I'm like really like developing into the man that I potentially am going to be for the rest of my life. So I can certainly relate, and it certainly resonates. Yeah, let me hear from you as far as just like, what was going on at the time that finally inspired you to, reach out.
I do a bit of traveling for work, and just kind of like getting in that cycle again. Almost reminded me of like when I was in high school. If I'm out traveling alone, then I work during the day, come back to my Airbnb or hotel, and just kind of like habitual, all right, I'm going to look at porn and, masturbate before I go to bed for the night. And you wake up the next morning, is feeling guilty, I'm traveling, taking time away from my wife to do good work and stuff. And like, but if I'm doing that and just not living in integrity with myself, everything I believe in and value, faith is a big thing for me in my life too. And served a mission for 2 years when I was like 18, and was forced, you have to have a worthiness standard to do that. And so I've actively worked on this for a long time now, but whether religious or not, like, I think everyone kind of senses that there's no benefit or reward for entangling yourself with pornography. It just leads to problems, and it's just not good. So that was a big of like, just recognizing I kind of have to do the same thing or have to take it serious again. Ever since then, it's always been, this year I'll be a little bit better. I'm going to dial it in. This New Year's resolution, I'm never going to do it again. And everyone who's dealt with this problem knows that story. It's then multiple years pass by and you're still engaged with it,
No, I again resonates, and I totally hear where you're coming from. So here you are in this program and doing the work. Let me hear from you. I mean, like, when you first joined, if you can take yourself back to your first, onboarding sessions, how did it feel?
Great. Years back when I dabbled with other programs too, I think one of the biggest things, you learn a bunch of good tools and things you can implement that, like any course or material you study, it helps you become a proficient in implementing things. And with this, that's certainly the case. But I would say one of the biggest things is probably this community, getting in touch with people. And that's what I probably missed the most, honestly. Showing up, if you can't be in person, I think that's ideal. But even if it's on Zoom like this or whatever, phone calls, chats with other people, getting other people involved, in my opinion, is probably the most important thing in this whole thing. So you have community. It's hard to get momentum or confidence unless you have other people helping you.
No, I definitely agree. And there's definitely a lot of pieces in what you just shared I'd love to hear a little bit about. Namely, what have been some of those tools that you've learned about that have, helped you out so far?
Like the feelings exercise of just like looking, not trying to avoid the problem and filling with other things, which I'm in sales. I think a lot of guys can kind of relate to this. Like if you're always just kind of doing stuff and trying to fill time, and you can get really busy and you can fill time of just doing other things, but you're not really focused on what you're feeling and maybe what you're truly leaning towards porn and other stuff that goes with that. So kind of dialing in and just seeing, I think the feelings exercise is really good. And then a huge emphasis in the program, JK on his YouTube videos has always been huge on a morning routine. It's huge. Like a morning routine is absolutely huge. It paves the way for the day. And like if you're reading, meditating, and all that stuff, it's simple things you should do. Yeah, just getting the simple things down has been huge.
That's great, man.
And with that, there's more things too. I'd say the biggest thing in my religion, there's a saying that, like, we're taught correct principles, but we govern ourselves. And I think that's applicable to almost anything. Like you can learn a correct principle or teaching, but you're ultimately left a free agent to yourself to govern and act for yourself and what you're going to do with that. Tons of good things, but it's ultimately up to the person at the end of the day to implement and engage with those things that can help better their life, and more particular with this particular problem, which I think everyone who deals with this would agree affects literally everything about their life, like happiness, fulfillment, progress, work ethic, earning capacity, communication capacity, influence, spirituality, virtue.
Yeah, I mean, you're spitting fireballs right now. I completely hear where you're coming from, and honestly, in your specific situation, because like you said, you work in sales and you continue to travel for your work, and I am curious, because I know a lot, you're a high performing dude. You're catering to a lot of people's needs, and that's how you make your living, right? I'm curious, not that everybody is perfect, and you've I believe you've certainly done your best to stay involved with the community and join calls. You were just on my Breaking the Cycle coaching session, which was awesome. Yeah, it's like, what do you do as far as like remaining as consistent as you can with your travel conflictions or work schedule?
Stay consistent with this. So I'd say it's give and take. If you make it a priority, no matter how busy a person is, I always believe that, like, if something's important to you, one way or another, you're gonna find a way to prioritize it. I'd say the biggest threat to this, and probably other programs or efforts people make with this problem, is just kind of like numbing out. This issue is like a gripping plague that numbs the minds of people to where they just don't care anymore. They don't really try, or they isolate from things. So I think that's probably the biggest thing for most people, including myself, is you can always make room if you want to, but the danger is if you're not in a good spot, like you're not being consistent with the recovery work and actively working on this, people just tend to withdraw. I think everyone who deals with this can kind of relate to that.
Absolutely. And that's why I asked, because as, I'm coming from like a background as a teacher, it's like
Mhm.
I got the commute coming out of New York City every day and, needing to be on it, all the time and kind of using my busyness sometimes as kind of an excuse to not engage as much as I perhaps should. Because, like you said, like, especially when you're like an ambitious, high performing individual, it can kind of it's very commonplace to get wrapped up in the day to day. But I love what you said. In essence, you are what you prioritize. So I'm curious, even if, it's not every single day, you do as much as you possibly can. And I think that's the most important thing as far as your consistency in showing up in the community, on a coaching calls, of course, keeping up your own individual routines. How has that, despite your, very, travel heavy lifestyle, how has that impacted your reboot?
I say having accountability partners is huge. I think there's times that you can be influenced for good by them, and also you can influence them if you're doing better. And sometimes someone's on a better role of things than the other person. But just actively like seeing a text like, "Hey man, how you doing?" or "Hey, I want to chat for a second today." It's kind of like always reminds you of it. It's hard to forget that and to not participate in some way, even if it's just thinking about it. I'd say that's probably been one of the biggest helps is, and then the Facebook group, just seeing people and being in contact, group messages, individual text messages. But it's just being in contact with people, I would say, is probably the biggest thing that's helped me implement and stay consistent with things. Because if it weren't for that, in our culture, ghosting people is a huge thing. And it's easy to ghost this problem and just ignore it. But if you have people that are actively trying to help you and like, hey man, like that's even if it's just a simple, hey man, how's it going? Like it goes a long way, you know?
Absolutely. Dude, I appreciate you speaking to that. I'd love to hear your take on just your experience in the Facebook community in general. How has the Facebook group benefited you?
It's huge. Having a community of guys that, they want to be better and they want to find out how to implement these things that can give you success and combating the influence of pornography, which is huge in today's world, anywhere you live, honestly. If you're thinking about something, throw it in the chat. Like you're going to get people that have dealt with similar experiences and can help you kind of like work through whatever it is like, you have to overcome and on your journey with this battle. Yeah, it's huge. Just having a platform of community of people. Like it's anywhere you can find community and plug into something to like you have help, you have people you can talk to. It's a huge blessing and a good opportunity, especially with this right here.
And I know that one of the things, just from my own experience, that's really helped as far as fostering that sense of community really is the coaching calls. You get to obviously receive insight from an expert on a particular topic, but you got other guys that are going through similar stuff. So that's certainly been my experience. I'm curious about yours.
With the coaching calls,
Yeah, yeah.
coaching calls are huge. Anytime I'm able to hop on one, I come away edified, glad I hopped on. Like people should really prioritize to hop on those. There's been some weeks where I've been close to hopping on each one. And this past week, you always notice a difference when you do hop on. Like you're always benefited if you just show up. So it's huge. Having licensed professionals on top of other people who have just experience with dealing with this is just as beneficial in a lot of cases. But yeah, it's a huge opportunity to have those coaching calls and just to show up and to be edified and to help you become more resolute in your journey and in navigating this battle against porn.
No, I love that, man. Is there a particular coach that you want to shout out?
Dr. Rankin. Dr. Rankin, he's a good man. Very well read, smart guy, and he's just real. Like and yeah, I love hopping on Dr. Rankin's calls.
That's awesome, man. Shout out to Dr. Rankin. There's also a question that I love asking on these types of calls, and I think you can handle it. Basically, doing a little bit of a retrospective look back, you know, because we know how common of an issue this is, and when if this makes it to the YouTube channel and the podcast or whatever, odds are pretty high that someone who might be, listening or watching or whatever, they probably have some sort of history with, sexually compulsive behaviors in their own life, or maybe they know
Yeah.
someone close to them who does, right? So hypothetically, if somebody were to confide in you, expressing that, they have a history with this type of stuff, not really knowing where to turn and kind of, feeling like uncomfortable with sharing about it, kind of on the fence as far as what to do, kind of suffering in silence in the way that you and I know about very well. With what you've learned so far and with your experience up until this point, if given the opportunity, is there anything that you would share with that person?
Yeah, I'd say one of the most important things is to find people, a community you can belong to, a program like where you can learn the teachings and principles where you can win successfully against this problem, because there's a lot of people who think, oh, it's okay, porn's normal and associated companion masturbation. But it wastes a ton of time, ton of energy, and there is ways to kind of like fill your life with different, more wholesome, virtuous things. And I'd say, hey, to win it, I've had it's kind of like seasons. You read like in the Old Testament, there's seasons of like different people and civilizations like have battles. They have seasons of prosperity and seasons of defeat. I think this is so applicable. Like some people have seasons of victory, some people have seasons of hardship and defeat. But having community wherever you might find it is the most important thing, and being open and communicating with, like, if you're married, with your partner, with friends, with people in a program like this. And the first thing that's always helped me with this in particular, like anyone who's opened up a set of scriptures, I think J.K. used to sell Bibles door to door. I believe in Jesus Christ and his power to heal and to restore and to, forgive sins and all that. But there's a saying in the scriptures that the word of God is more powerful and has a stronger effect upon the mind than the sword or anything that's ever happened to people, which is really powerful. And I do believe reading good books, especially open up the New Testament and read, about the stories in there about Jesus Christ and what he did for people. And then on top of that, what Jesus did, he communicated, he was with people. And this problem does the exact opposite. It drives you away from people, to be isolated and to not engage and to sit on the sidelines, when in reality, if you take care of this problem, like everyone knows like what they're capable of and what their dreams are. And pornography strangles the life and potential out of all of that if you let it. But even if you just try a little bit, it's a difference of like joy and happiness and a life of regret and sorrow. So Yeah, I would say take advantage of the community, be open with people. Things always get dangerous when the communication and the isolation starts. So keep that going, be with the people, communicate, and be vocal about it.
Beautiful. Legitimately beautiful. I love that. I think there was a lot that you just said there, and it's very impactful. So thank you very much. I mean, like, one big thing that I think that I've learned, just from my own time in the program, having been through, some stuff as we all have. In the program, we have the word essence, right? Like the essential nature of you. It's like when I'm no longer aligning with compulsive behaviors anymore, like unhealthy things that are like deviating from my sense of presence, my sense of community, my sense of self, really. What's left? What's the essential nature of me, hence essence. And it kind of brings it back to the word. It's like, it's famous for a reason. We're not, born with a spirit of fear, but with like a sound mind of love, and that's how you're built, and getting back to that, and that in many ways is, I mean, hello, hence the name of the program, Reboot. It's like get back to factory settings. That's immoral, not even more or less. That is essentially what every person has the ability to do with, like you said, like that sense of intention. Even if you're a busy individual, we all are, that's who this program is for. So I love that you spoke to that. So thank you. So sort of like a follow-up question, would you essentially, to this proverbial person, would you recommend this program?
Yeah.
Oh, nice, man. Well, that's really cool to hear. It's really encouraging. And yeah, thank you for sharing your heart. Thank you for sharing your experience. Any parting words to somebody who might be listening or watching before we call it a day?
As long as you want to still keep trying, there's always hope. And people do successfully win this battle all the time. And I'd say get involved with the community, open up a set of scriptures, keep giving it your best. And, it's never too late to start again.
Thank you so much for that. It's never, ever, ever too late to start again, no matter where you're at. And I'm a living testament of that. You're a living testament of that. And I appreciate you speaking on that. Spencer, thank you so much for your time and insight.
I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out of control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.